Go ahead, Mike.
We got a big show on tap, so let's dive into our first topic, which is brought to us by FanDuel. You guys have heard us talk about FanDuel a lot throughout the year, and it is undisputably America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, we have a little something different for you guys. Starting today through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook. This morning, Bull, the Browns and Deshaun Watson agreed to a contract restructure, opening up about $35.5 million in cap space for the Browns. The Browns have now have over $62 million in cap space, the most in the league.
Which
Jason,
is funny
you asked Andrew Berry a while ago.
It's funny that they have the most cap space in the league because I think they're spending more money than any other team.
Second most cash spent.
Okay, so second most, and yet they have the most cap space. It's all kind of meaningless. It's just kicking the can. Yeah. His cap hits, Deshaun Watson, the next 2 years, as of now, I think are over $70 million.
72.
Yeah, so now this didn't kick any money beyond the 5 years, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, it did?
Well, we need to double check. So according to that, okay, now that's the one.
Okay.
And obviously this just happened. I haven't looked in this. Spot Rack, if that's accurate.
Yeah.
So before the restructure, it was a $9 million dead cap hit in 27. Now it's 26. So you would think.
What about 26? Did that change at all?
Yeah, everything went up $9 million each because it was $36 million that they paid out in cash.
Yeah.
So you roll $36 million forward. They added 9 to 25. They added 9 to 26, and they added 18 to 27. So you would think that they would go 9, 9, 9, 9, 25, 26, 27.
Okay, that makes sense.
And add 9 to 28. According to that, they put 18 onto 27. So if that's accurate, they just seem to be loading everything onto 27. And then they'll deal with it then. But they're just going to keep doing this. Like last year when they restructured it, it was the exact same number. It was 36. It was the base pay.
Yeah.
And this year it's 36 again. So it's simple math, really, that it's coming down to on this. And I was just surprised that they put 18 onto 27, 18 million onto 2027, if that's accurate, rather than tacking another 9 million onto 2028. You know what I mean? Divide it evenly, 9, 9, 9, 9, and push 4 years. Each
add another year,
add another dead year in 2028.
I mean,
if that now you could say they're just going to
they can do it again next year.
They're just, and I talked to Zach this morning, and Zach's like, it's all just dummy numbers. Like it's all guaranteed money. He's going to get all his dollars. It's just how you make it work. But the 18 million on 2027, I just thought was really interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is the biggest caveat here is. If Deshaun Watson cannot turn it around, then it's going to become a disaster.
Yeah.
An absolute disaster.
At some point.
Yes.
At some point. Now the cap keeps going up.
Right, but if he gets back to being a great player again,
they're fine.
Then they're fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think we all acknowledge, and I think down deep the Browns have to acknowledge that if he's not very good this year, they have to have a new plan.
No, they ain't. That I can't tell.
Well, what are you going to do? Just keep playing him every year if he stinks?
Yep.
Well, you're not going to win anything that way.
Yes, you are. That's exactly what you're going to do. Right? Unless you go Russell Wilson the situation.
I think you'd have to do that if he has a bad year.
Well, Jimmy got it. If Jimmy got it, I mean, that's what it is. But I mean, to me, they just double down on it. Like, he's going to be that guy. And that's, you know what, from a player standpoint, that's a confidence booster. You know, everybody been talking about that he's got to find a way to get his confidence back. This organization has done everything in their power to say, we are with you.
Yep.
This thing rides or dies with you.
Yep.
Whether we go into the playoffs or we don't win a game, we riding with you. And that's a good feeling. I mean, at some point, he's got to think, man, I gotta pay these guys back in my play. You know, when coming out, I forgot who he was talking to. We had somebody on the show that said when Deshaun was coming out, he had Deshaun as the number one quarterback, and Andy Reid had Patty Mahomes. Who was that?
That was Charlie Weiss, who I had on my podcast.
Yeah.
And we we played the clip here.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. Yeah. Y'all make sure y'all go check that out.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you got you. Anyways, he's got to get back to being up there with Patty Mahomes. And I know that's just right now, when you think about that, where he's at and where Patty Mahomes is, it sounds so far-fetched.
It does.
Like, it's like there's no way that he's getting back.
Right.
But at a point in time, he was playing to that level. And I know the injuries stink, and I know that the Browns have tried to get weapons around him, but that's what it's going to have to be for this thing to be successful. He's got to find a way to get back there. And I know a lot of the world, like 90% of the Browns is out on it. Browns fans are out of it. I'm a part of the 10% that said it's still in there. It got to be. Like,
I think it's more than that.
It has
Everybody
to be.
thinks it's still in there.
Okay, well, they're good.
A lot of people think it's
well,
still
good.
in
I'm in the
there.
majority then. I thought I was in the minority on this.
Well, I think people think, obviously you don't forget how to play quarterback overnight. It's still in there. It's just a matter of, can you get to it?
Can he get to it again?
Consistently.
That's the question.
You can get to it once in 17 games.
Like
you get to it twice.
Like when you watched
you
him.
get to it 15 times.
When you watched him in his games last year, what was it that made you like, I don't know, was it just stats? Do you think he was missing throws? Do you think he was missing reads? Like what when you watched him last year, what was it that was like, I don't know.
For me,
Question. Yeah.
the Baltimore game, when he said, he told everybody in the organization, I'll be fine, I'll be fine, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. And they believed him. And then it got to Sunday morning and he said, nope, can't go.
But that's just misassessing the situation, because when you get hurt and people tell you, if you get the shot, you'll be fine. Like, you think, trust me, I was on the opposite end. I was like, ain't no way no shot gonna make me feel good. And you get the shot and you be like, man, I'm actually fine. Well, in that case, he probably thought he was flipped it. He said, I'm gonna get the shot and I'm gonna be fine to play.
Yeah.
And he probably got it and was like, nah, I still ain't that. So to me, I'm not faulting him for that. I just think he just totally butchered that situation. He should have just sat out the weekend.
I know there were players that were upset that felt like he told us all week.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree. But still, that.
And it's not just that, but I'm just saying.
But let's stay field related. When you watched him last year on the field, when you watched him play, what was it that was kind of like?
I think it's everything you mentioned, but what I would say is this. You know how in the NFL they've now had to define a catch, and it's completely confusing, right? But when we play football, when you played as a kid, we know what a catch is.
Yeah.
It's hard to define it.
Yeah,
but you know what it is. You know a catch and you know it's not a catch. When you watch Patrick Mahomes, it's special watching him play.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I watched Deshaun Watson in Houston, it felt like I was watching someone special. That he can make a magical play every time he had the ball, or do something special with his legs every time he had the ball. And I have never felt that way here. He hasn't looked like the guy.
Even in the second half of Baltimore, you didn't feel that.
I think that's the most overblown half of football that I've ever seen in my entire life. Every throw was a dink and dunk.
I feel like
he threw one touchdown, one touchdown in the second half.
You know what? I think you're both right on that because you're right. All the throws were like 4 and 5 yards.
Yeah.
But to play through the injury that he was playing through, to throw with the ball at all was unbelievably
100%.
And to pick up yards with the sprained ankle on the ground.
But we've turned
I was the first one to say that.
Ever.
People are clinging to that like air in their lungs.
I saw a tweet this morning because somebody retweeted Nick Wright on Fox picking the Browns to finish third. I didn't listen to the video, but maybe I don't know what he said about Watson, but obviously wasn't complimentary. And one person said, man, it's like people forgot what happened in the Baltimore game. As if there are a number of fans who think that Baltimore second half proves that Deshaun Watson was back. And I don't think that's the case.
I think it's because of the situation. To do it in Baltimore against a defense that was the Browns was 1A, they was 1B. So to do it against that defense and that situation in Baltimore is why people's like, mentality-wise, it's like, all right, he's got the right mentality because he was like, bleep it, I'll win this thing by myself, and he kind of did that. So that's
Well,
why.
I mean, they got a pick 6 in the second half.
True, but I'm
You
saying
know.
from an offensive standpoint, he did the things he needed
Right.
to do. Whereas previous quarterbacks, it would have been a pick or a fumble, or they just wouldn't have converted, and it would have been the end of the game. So to see him have some success in those defining moments, it's like that's kind of what you want out of your quarterback. And with Jason's point, to see them have the injuries that he had, to say there is no excuse. I ain't giving y'all, my ankle's messed up, my shoulder's messed up, but I'm still going out there and I found a way to win the game. Like, that does mean something.
Absolutely.
Now, I
But
agree. I agree with you on the first Baltimore thing. If I was a player on that team and he told me all week he was playing and we got to the game and he said I can't go, I'd be upset.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you should have said that and we could have had a game
could have had
plan.
something
Yeah,
ready.
we could have figured something out. So you kind of put us in jeopardy there. But maybe that's why that Baltimore game where he played like he was hurt, maybe that's why he did it, because he
make up
felt
for
I
it,
needed to make up for what I did in the past. And yeah, you got to say he kind of did.
That second half is the only game in 2 years that you could make the argument that you won because of him. And I'm not even completely convinced you won that game because of him, but that's the only one.
Well, Tennessee, he played really well. I'm trying to remember the details of that.
Here's
I
my
don't.
point,
I
Jason.
honestly don't remember.
The only game that I say he
Baker
lost.
Mayfield had a lot of good games against the Tennessees and the Arizonas too. I didn't trade for Deshaun Watson so I could beat a shitty Arizona team.
Right.
You traded for him to win the big games that Baker Mayfield couldn't win.
That's absolutely
I agree.
fair. That's fair.
I agree.
So you said, like, what have you seen or what have you seen? I just pulled up the schedule. He wasn't good at Cincinnati. We know the weather.
Yeah.
So throw that out. Fine. Pittsburgh, I didn't think he was good at Pittsburgh.
Terrible.
He lost that game.
Yes.
Tennessee, he played well week 3. Colts, he was awful. They pulled him in the first quarter. It was not injury related. It was performance related. He was terrible in Indianapolis.
He was about to throw 2 picks, I think.
Arizona was his first game, like, really back.
Yeah.
He was fine. They're a bad team. He played
Good game,
fine. Yeah.
But he played good, but it was a terrible team.
And then the Baltimore game. And that's it. Like, that's, if we go back and look at last year, that's all we have to go on. So Cincinnati.
He's just been a guy for the most part here.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing. And I don't like that people are moving the goalposts on him because the expectation was for him to be a superstar, and he's not been there.
You can't move the goalposts. With this that just came out today, there is no moving the goalposts. I just told you.
Yeah.
You gotta be Patrick Mahomes level type play for the next few years for this thing to work. Because that's what the organization is paying you and saying, like, hey, we think you can still be the next you can still be up there and go toe to toe with Patty Mahomes. And we're going to pay you and take care of you as such.
I wrote a story on this last year, right on this same topic about how do you handle this contract and all that. And AB was in Philly, and Philly is really good at this. And partly because I'm sure that's where AB learned it. And it's all about picking the right contracts to restructure. And the Browns have nailed it to this point. They restructured Bitonio, hasn't hurt him. They restructured Wyatt, didn't hurt him. Restructured Jed, didn't hurt him. Miles, all the ones that they did not restructure Nick last year. And before the injury, they did not, because they knew even before he got hurt that probably were going to have to rework that contract. So they did not restructure.
Njoku? No, that wasn't a restructure. That was an extension.
But now on the flip side of that, Atlanta did not handle the restructures well, and they restructured Matt Ryan one too many times, and they got whacked with the $60 million dead cap charge when he wasn't even in Atlanta anymore. And that's before the cap took off and everything else. So it's about timing, it's about picking the right contracts to restructure, and you have to have an owner willing to write a check for $36 million.
Right.
And it's not even that. Some owners won't. Most owners probably won't do that. Lamar Hunt ain't doing that in Kansas City. Your guy in Cincy ain't doing that.
No.
The Steelers aren't doing that.
Nope.
So you have to have an owner who's got the liquidity to do it, who has the passion to do it. And that's where I think AB and Jimmy make a good team. Is AB's really good at knowing which contracts to restructure.
Right.
And he's got an owner willing to back him up and pay the financials to do it.
Yeah.
And now we'll see. Now you see.
It's all up to Deshaun.
Let me ask you guys this real quick, just to put a bow on this before we move to the Guardians. The Browns now have the most cap space in the NFL. Are you under the assumption this is just a rollover, or do you think there's something to be used this cap space for that Andrew Berry has up his sleeve?
What could they use it on right now?
You tell me.
It's a rollover.
It's a rollover.
I mean, everyone's going to scream Brandon Ayuk, but I don't think that's it at all.
I wouldn't scream that. I would, if anything, I would scream maybe a left tackle.
But Brandon Ayuk,
What is Trent Williams?
I don't think they
The
could
Trent
make
Williams-
that trade.
They could have done it before.
Yeah, they could
No,
have done
really
it
could do
before.
it now.
And supposedly, I don't know if this is true
I
or
thought
not.
he said he didn't.
Supposedly, he doesn't want to play here,
Yeah.
so that doesn't matter. And what left tackle are you going to get? Like, the Niners not trading Trent Williams. I know he's holding out, but
See, his situation
Yeah.
is different than a lot of people because, we talk about call your bluff.
Yeah.
Like, and it's going to come down to sitting out of games.
right,
He's paid. He will sit out of them games, and it could get bad.
right.
So one or two things is going to happen. Either you're going to pay him or you're going to trade him.
I mean, if you're the Browns, what do you got to give up to get him? A first-round pick?
I have no idea.
You probably got to give him a first-round pick, don't you?
How old is he?
How old is Trent
I
Williams?
mean, he was.
I think he's 36.
Yeah, he was old when we
Yeah.
had the Trent Williams conversation 4 years ago.
Yeah, but he's still one of maybe the best in the league, though.
Yeah.
he
But
is.
how much can you give up for a guy who's 30? He's 36?
I think a second-round pick, honestly.
I can't get. I thought he was younger than that. I didn't realize he was 36.
If they want to say, I might.
I'm not trading a first-round pick for a 36-year-old.
If it take a second round pick, I think I might do.
I would do that.
I think I
Trent
would do
Williams
it
just turned 36, by the way. I was right.
I would do it. I'd trade a
because
second-round pick.
I would keep my first round pick for next year's draft, and then I
Jed Wills and a second-round pick. Let's go.
But and again, like,
I don't know if they'd take it, but I would.
they are all in on right now.
Yeah.
And I was talking about the 2027 cap. Nobody cares about the 2027
No,
cap
because
right now.
a lot of their key players are going to be.
They're not under
gone by
contract
then.
right now for
Yeah.
whether or not they re-sign. We'll see.
Yeah, but even if they do, they're old. Batonio,
Older, yeah,
Teller,
yeah.
Miles, Nick. they're,
36.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
Oh, that man a beast.
so they are all in for right now.
yeah.
So if you got it,
That's it?
I don't think under any circumstance the Niners trade.
They
Trent Williams.
shouldn't.
I doubt it.
I wouldn't if I
No.
was them, but
You never know.
If you ain't gonna pay them.
All right, Mike.